In the world of many internal and external voices, the voice you listen to is the voice that dictates your life. Would you like to discover a clear path to a life of freedom and fulfillment? Then welcome to All About the Voice podcast, where we focus on awareness, alignment, and action in order to live a life of abundance. I am your host, Victoria Rader. What if your feeling of freedom was just a decision away, a decision to forgive? Kate Vrastak is a voice for forgiveness. Kate is forgiveness and transformation coach and a founder of Sacred Roots Coaching. Kate is a #1 international best-selling author, speaker, and consultant. All right, I'm so excited today to introduce to you guys Kate Vrastak. Kate is a forgiveness and transformation coach, and she has a company that is called Sacred Roots Coaching. Kate, tell us a little bit who you are in terms of how did you get here? Here you are with this title, with this company. What's a journey? How did you get to this point?
Well, thank you very much, first and foremost, for having me on here. I just love this opportunity to be able to educate and to bring awareness, the mental health stigma that is out there. And this has been my passion for over 25 years, working in the career of social work. And that is my background, first and foremost. And my specialty is with trauma survivors and post-traumatic specifically, and also anyone that has disabilities or lacks a voice regarding some kind of mental health diagnosis that they've been given. So I've been passionate about helping others rise up and find their voice, but also speak from the place of not the victim any longer, but the victor over their circumstances, and to help others to be successful in their business and in their life, but most of all in all relationships.
That's really amazing and so much needed. You know, I loved how right on point you were with this stigma of people that, you know, are hearing different voices and are confused as to which one to listen to, and you guiding them, finding that path. How in your life have you walked this journey yourself?
Well, this is why I'm passionate about helping end the stigma of mental health, because I myself had lost a lot of family. In fact, they were all killed, and this brought me on my own journey. So first and foremost, before I could help others, I had to help myself. So I went on the journey of searching for resources and networks that would help me heal from not only the trauma of losing my family, but the long repressed grief that I stuffed down and repressed it, I would say. And also the internal dialogue that went on of wanting to be a perfectionist and a workaholic and overcompensating in my relationships to find love, to seek after love that I didn't feel myself because I had lost my roots at such a young age. That really propelled me into going into social work to help and give back. I'm about giving back, not about dwelling on circumstances, because as Tony Robbins says, we are not what happens to us, it happens for us. And it's what we do with our story. Our mess is our message. And that's what I have done most recently in stepping up and speaking my truth in a book that I just released. And I am all about invoking this in others and helping others. So I don't see the perpetual motion of suicide that tends to take people suffering from internal mental health diagnosis that goes undiagnosed, really, or unhelped in the society that we live in, because there's so many wait lists.
So tell us about your book, Kate. What's the name of your book? I know that I've enjoyed your chapter in it tremendously, and I'll go back to it. But tell our listeners the name of the book. I know it's become a #1 international bestseller. Congratulations. I'm very excited for those empowering messages that the book carries. You know, of course, I call myself Possibility Coach. So the name of your book, The Ignite Possibilities, ignited me majorly.
That's awesome.
So tell us about the book, how you ended up participating in it, and the journey through it.
Well, the journey was that I knew I had a story. I knew I had quite a few stories to share, but the ignite moment came in the opportunity in doing this when I had a mastermind group online with other women who are also in the field of giving back and working with children, professionals, and adults alike to help overcome any kind of hurdles of mental health, but even just professional stressors that one goes through and trying to help others seek out. So when I found this individual who linked me with JB Owen of Ignite Possibilities, it gave me the opportunity to speak my truth. And the empowerment that I got from it is because I didn't have a voice just prior to that. Over 2 years prior, I had a really tragic accident of a tree falling on my head that made me realize that I had to rise up, not only physically because of this debilitating concussion that I had, but also in my life. Like I really had to visit all those shadow archetypes that were masquerading in my life and preventing me from seeing who I truly was and speaking my authentic voice. So in speaking my voice in this chapter, it has helped so many so far that I've read it. And also in writing it, it helped me also see how much more possibilities there are in forgiveness, because I reach forgiveness in reaching neuro-linguistic programming, which is one of the most powerful tools that I use to help individuals overcome their trauma. And this is what gave me back my voice, gave me back my ability to even look at light, let alone the sunlight that I wasn't even able to see, let alone my own light internally, because we are all light and we are a gift to the world. So this is what now I'm passionate about, helping others rise up and do the same and embrace who they are. So yeah, this is my mission and I feel it's my life purpose. And if I don't live my life purpose, then I'm not leaving a positive legacy. So this is why I'm now continuing on to a second book now with Les Brown to live my legacy out loud and not stifle it anymore.
Oh, I love it. So first we ignite the possibility of a voice, then we're going to make it out loud. Absolutely gorgeous. I want to take you to two moments. One that you just mentioned, you said the tree fell on your head and you were knocked out. Tell us about what actually happened. Tell us how you came to, and when was that moment of ignite there in that process?
Wow, it was a very powerful moment because my whole world was crashing before me, as I speak in my chapter in this book. Like literally, like I had just overcome a house fire, a marriage ending, my own identity and chaos, let alone my own son contemplating suicidal ideation. I just really said, like, what is there for me? What's left? What's next? Or even what else am I going to accomplish with just having a hip surgery as well? I realized it was all about moving forward. I was stuck and I needed to get unstuck. And that's where I found the entrapment of my mindset was limiting. It was very restrictive. And to the point that the tree went right down smack on my head after a windstorm that hit my house, even. That's first how it fell. And then it just shifted and fell on me as I was on the phone with the contractor, believe it or not, trying to ask for help. And this is what I realized in the stigma of mental health. If we don't up and speak out and ask for help, we won't get the answers. We won't be able to seek even if we don't use our voice. And the powerful tool that I have now that I'm not going to keep shut anymore, because I overcame a limiting belief of my childhood that I was to be seen and not heard, and what went on in the home stayed in the home. And this is now what I'm about, helping others release from that, because when you stay in silence and you don't feel that there's no other way out, that darkness consumes you. And we're so much more than that. And I realized I couldn't even look at daylight, let alone sunlight. So I had to stay in that darkness until I was able to release my cells, my nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. So I dug deep, and it started with breath work. It started with going within, meditating, and then, of course, the powerful tools of neurolinguistic programming to release the blocked emotions and the limiting beliefs that were stored there. And I continuously stay present to whatever emotions come up now, and I just let them go through me. I don't get stagnant with it. And that has really shifted me because I own them and I welcome them, but I'm not afraid of them anymore. And that's what I feel most predominantly in mental health. We get afraid of our own potential, our own shadows. And if we can only embrace them and love them and forgive them, most importantly, that's when then the aha, the ignite moment came to me, is that I was able to reach forgiveness from all of my being, including my heart, to see that I could forgive even the murders that took my family, especially my last brother, which brought me before the courts for 7 years. And I partook in that process so I could forgive him. But most of all, I realized it wasn't him necessarily that I needed the forgiveness. It was myself, because I was staying in fear. I was afraid of what was going to happen next. I was always worried. And I was the more I focused on that, I was bringing that to me. So I released that in that moment, where then the next morning after that powerful session, I was able to open up my curtains of my home. I was able to even speak a clear sentence and not stutter my words, to even embrace who I was. Like, I was full of emotion of joy, like of a release and expansiveness that I'd never felt before. And it's an expression that I can't even put my exact words on it, but it's freedom. I would say freedom is the best explanation for it. So it's empowering when you can reach that. And forgiveness does that. And it releases it for you, not necessarily the other person, because they go on with their lives. But by not forgiving, we hold ourselves back. So yeah, so it's powerful.
I love that. I love forgiving the shadows, forgiving the shadows. And to find the shadows, you've got to be aware of those shadows. And it sounded like that was an amazing point of awareness for you. You know, here at All About the Voice, we talk about the 4 stages of developing it. We start with awareness, and then, which is kind of ability to hear the inner prompting or to see the light that you're referring to, inner light, right? Or outer light people are seeking for. And we talk about alignment, which is choosing to hear that, to listen to it. Then we take action. And finally, that leads to the life of abundance. And so it's so beautiful as I listen to your story, how all of those steps have unfolded for you, as to where you said, you know what? I started loving those emotions of mine instead of, pushing them away, just being aware. What struck me so much was probably such a small line in that chapter that you wrote. And I want you to give us a little bit more of a framework on that. To my recollection, you were at tender age of 5, correct? When you lost your family, your parents, was it? Or
it was actually 5 when I lost my grandfather, who suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, but it was 13 when I became an actual orphan after losing all my family. So that was at a very impressionable age. And I realized that I was just becoming a woman as well. I just, I started evolving at 10 and then 13. Oh my God, my whole world was uprooted. And because I was gifted as a child with a sixth sense, I knew in myself, in my gut, that I wouldn't see my family again after that day of saying goodbye to them. And they were doing a good deed at the time. I had just been prophesied on to the night before from the missionaries that actually died with my mom and brother. And it made me realize that I had a impression to make on the world, not to live in the pain and the anguish, but at the same time, the sixth sense, listening to it, it wasn't validated as a child, because back then they didn't know how to work with it or listen to it. So as I was growing up as an orphan, I had to learn to follow that inner knowing, that inner intuition and guidance, and pull in the resources as I needed them. But trust was the main thing that I realized I was missing, because I didn't know who to turn to or who next that I would feel I would lose again if I got close to them. And that being said, the closeness that I needed was to myself, to nurture me and to foster the emotions, like you said, that get so detached when you get through very difficult times, but when you repress grief, when you repress emotions. And I was really propelled to just be a workaholic, even at a young age, because I thought it was in doing that I could get my value. It was in all that I could become as my identity to get my value, until I realized, and it's taken me quite a few years to realize, that my value is much more than what I do. It's who I am, and it's how I authentically show up for myself and embrace my emotions. But most of all, like you said, be that light, be the authenticity that allows other people to see that you're human too. And we make mistakes, we pick ourselves back up, and, we don't dwell on the circumstances, but we learn from them and we overcome them. And being 13, though, I had to grow up very quickly. And that's what I realized has been the struggle through all of this, is that I put so much expectation on myself. And I've had to learn, since awakening to my spirituality, that no expectations is really where the true growth comes from, is when you just show up and you can truly surrender to the moment and just, allow spirit to guide you and people to be mentors to come into your path and people that orchestrate your life. And it just, organically happens and you don't have to force it. And that's when I truly realized that I could connect the mind, body, and soul connection. Whereas as a child, I wasn't really aware of how to connect the three. I was just going about my head, okay, I got to be headstrong, egotistical, and I've got to be who I needed to be to everyone else so they would love me. And really what I was missing was loving myself and that inner child that felt so betrayed and abandoned and rejected, but also most of all, traumatically uprooted because it was forced. Like I couldn't prevent it. Like even having a sixth sense, I couldn't prevent my family from dying, even though I knew that would be the last moment I saw them. So that guilt and shame I carried with them until, like I spoke in the chapter, when I had that ignite moment. It's like, wow, I can forgive myself for carrying that burden, that weight on my shoulders and responsibility that I had all those years that it wasn't mine to have. But yet I took that responsibility and I just realized that, wow, if I only let go, I could have lived in so much more freedom like I am now, to live so much more of my potential and attract those that are wanting that same potential in themselves, because it's so freeing once you get there and you get out of the shackles of your mindset that locks you into that trapped feelings of stuckness, to even, I would say I was abandoning myself. So in abandoning myself, I was pushing everybody away. So in mental health, that's what typically the pattern is that you feel you're all alone. So when you can stop that pattern in its tracks and own it and take responsibility and say, no more, I take back my power. That is when, like I shared in the book, that I owned my truth. And that's what I'm talking about now in my next book, is that, standing in that light that I always was the true test to see how I could invite the journey in. And I reached out to shamanism and Reiki and all different other modalities to help me heal along the path, because I knew there was more than just the ego. There was more than just the physical. There was that spiritual component that really brought it all together for me.
Oh, that's very powerful. Very, very powerful. I know that there is somebody who is listening to this that you're giving immense hope to, right? Because as you guys hopefully read the chapter, I think it's going to give more clarity. Read the book on the context of the need for forgiveness. And so many of us are stuck in that, what Kate calls, darkness, the darkness of being unrecognized, of feeling being pushed away, of loneliness, of abandonment. Something you said I wanted to tell us a bit more about. And I know that I've seen that even in my clients, in my family, in myself, that when we need love the most, we need help the most, it is when it seems like we push people away the most. How do you explain that process? And if somebody who's listening to it right now says, this is great theoretically, what do I do right now? What would be your guidance to them?
Wow, that's a fully loaded question, because this has been a lifelong journey for me to do the self-love work, because it's a daily journey. It's not a destination. As I was just sharing on a summit yesterday, that I have continuously, and every day I practice it. I wake up in the morning, I do my grounding, I clear denial, then I do my breath work and my meditation. But what I bring in that's most empowering is that Ho'oponopono prayer. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I honor you and I forgive you. But also I say my daily affirmations. And even until you really believe them, you say them, because you're talking to your future self. And it's all the power of owning your truth and owning your power of what you want to become, because we all look up to mentors and others that are successful. But how do they get there? They get there because they do the step-by-step process of believing in themselves, clearing away the limiting beliefs. But that self-confidence is a growth in itself. And in doing that, I found working through the emotions by the breath work, the Wim Hof breath work, is really where I started with my healing journey, because I realized my emotions were trapped in my body, and I was repressing that abandonment feeling and that love for myself first. I was wanting it from everybody else, but I was doing it in the wrong ways. I was seeking in all the roles that I was playing, but yet inertly in my soul, in my spirit, I was pushing it away because I thought that if I got close to somebody, they would just end up dying on me because, like, as a child, that was what happened to me. So energetically, I realized that I was projecting more than I realized. Subconsciously, we do this on a 90% basis, but it's 10% that we're working only on the conscious level. So once I got trained in these modalities of neurolinguistic programming, realizing how the central nervous system stores all this trauma, stores all this trapped emotions of lack of love or self-love, and especially when it's been distorted, when you've experienced trauma like myself. I was raised in a very dysfunctional home as well. My mother was a single mother when she died. My parents divorced actually when I was only 5 months old. And that came up, believe it or not, when my book launched. I realized that there was something holding me back from speaking my truth and owning it when the book came out. And I realized with doing another neurolinguistic programming process, it was because I never felt the love in the womb of my mother. This is how powerful the tool is of NLP. I didn't feel love. And inertly, I knew it even before I was born that my parents were going to divorce at 5 months old. So that energetically was in my system, even though my parents probably showed me as much love as they could. That spirit of me felt there was something missing. So that is the motivation that I've been propelled on ever since. And that's the catalyst for why I wrote the book, because I myself has also lost a child and know the innately connection that we have to unborn children even before they're born. But if we foster that innate inner child in ourselves and heal those wounds that even go deep right into pre-birth and even to our ancestors, that can clear the way for our children and other family members to come, and even clear past generations and past lives. So this is what has really propelled me on my journey and helped so many that I am gifted to speak with and help as be the conduit. I just consider myself as the conduit. As the yogi says, when the student is ready, the teacher will present themselves. And that's what I truly feel. My journey has been not one of a road less traveled, but truly of an evolving spirit that truly wants to continuously learn, continuously evolve, and truly learn from others as well. Like, I'm not on this journey to say I'm an expert in anything. I am just learning from my own journey how much it's so freeing to let go of the entrapment of not feeling love. Because as a child, I was always seeking love like any child does. But if you're innately feeling that spirit of disconnect, you'll always be looking for it in the wrong places until you can connect it to yourself first. And that's where I have really, truly embellished that now and continue to do every day as I journal, as I meditate, as I say my affirmations, but do my breath work and really clear those limiting beliefs that I am worthy, I am deserving, I am empowering of others, but most of all, I'm empowerment for myself. And even I'm a magnet for, abundance in all areas of my life. Like, saying simple affirmations like that and owning them and believing them can radiate that energy to you, and it can blossom into so many more possibilities that are limitless. And that's what I'm all about, that if we can encompass that love of the innocence, then we can truly bring that to the world, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. I want to just point out a couple great pointers from that is that I think are just gold nuggets, and that is it's a lifelong journey. It's not a destination. So if you're listening to this and you find yourself struggling with lack of forgiveness towards others or somebody else, once you've listened to this is not that tomorrow morning you wake up and it's over and you live a life free of obstacles, right? It's just that you have listened and you've become a little stronger. You have gotten a little bit more of a breath. Another thing that Kate used, so, it's a lifelong journey. And then breathing. Why is breathing so important? If you guys think about it, the lungs are the organ of life and death. We start life physically with the first breath. We finalize it with the last breath. The breathing is an indicator of the flow of life through us. And so breathe. I loved that, right? So remind yourself, I'm on a journey Number 2, breathe. Number 3, practice forgiveness through affirmations. Even if you are not forgiving right now, you can start saying, I am forgiving, right? I am forgiving. I got this. And a very important point of loving yourself as you are. I say, we are on a path of learning to be loved. We now say love people for who they are, but even that puts expectation on us. So freeing yourself to say, I love myself as I am. So that's kind of what I would say there. So Kate, where would we find more about your offerings? How would we learn more about that forgiveness prayer and anything else you can think that we can benefit from?
Well, I do have a website, www.sacredrootscoaching.com. And I am also on LinkedIn as Kate Vrastak, and also on Instagram as Sacred Roots Coaching as well. And I can reach out to you and support you by sending you links to my forgiveness exercises. I do have 3 pages that are free that I give to everyone that wants to really get personal with themselves and forgive on a personal level. You don't have to go to that person that you might have issues with, or they've hurt you, but writing it out and then burning the letter and letting it go really frees your spirit up more than you can imagine. And these exercises have really helped many people, and it's been amazing, the release that they've gotten. And even I further encourage people to write with their less dominant hand a forgiveness letter to their inner child. And this brings the innocence of the left brain and the right brain together in unison. So even if you don't understand your writing, it's just getting it out and saying that you're going to make a sacred agreement, a sacred contract with yourself, that you are going to walk alongside yourself, not betray yourself or abandon yourself anymore, but take up that relationship of love that you seek in others, that you so desperately long for in your own life, but bring it to yourself first and foremost. And I'm working with an individual right now that is really learning to embellish that and really feel that she can love that person, even though it is a struggle. It is letting go of the layers of resentment and anger that you might have pent up. And it's not yours to own, and it's not yours to keep. It's yours to let go of and to totally surrender, like you said, that we're like water. We're 90% water. So if we flowed with life like we flow on water, just ebb and flow, like even a woman's cycle, we come in and we go out effortlessly. If we looked at life as simplicity as that, then we could see that we are not to get attached to the outcome or attached to a timeline or even grief. There's no timeline to let it go. But at the same time, we just let pieces of it go and we become stronger because of that. So it's being gentle on yourself. And I can give more steps in my website or even in Instagram if you reach out, but know that you're not alone. This is what I encourage people to realize that might be struggling with mental health diagnoses. Like even I've helped bipolar and, some schizophrenic individuals and those that are just depressed, because they have repressed emotions that get stuck in the body and they're not moving with the breath. They're not allowing that stifled energy to be heard and validated and simply just honored in journal writing. That is something really empowering, because then you burn it and you let it go, not staying attached to it. Or like I said, even to someone yesterday, if you have a story, which everyone does, that story can help not only one person, but many people rise up of their own circumstances and stand up for their truth. And it empowers other people to say, I'm not alone. And that voice makes us a community, because you're stronger as a community of more voices together than just being a voice to yourself. So that is what I'm here to encourage you to say, that your roots need to be planted firmly, grounded, and then embody that empowerment that you are and that light, and really bring it in and ask your guides. I don't know if people on this call are spiritually aware, but we do have guardian angels always out there waiting to help us, and our spirit guides, and whatever higher power that you have, call them in and ask them, because you're never alone. There's always someone out there that is willing to help you energetically, spiritually, and even in the physical realm. And that's why, like even Clubhouse, I'm also on Clubhouse, and We host rooms together, actually. So I'm very honored to be in that facet too, because that app has allowed people to have a voice and not necessarily have to be seen, but they can be heard. And the power of releasing the voice chakra is really empowering, because then it releases the heart chakra, which really comes next, and opens up into more possibilities of the self-confidence and then the rooted sacredness of security and financial success. So all of them go hand in hand. So I honor you and I'm thankful for this opportunity, but know that you are a gift. Anyone that's listening to this, I hope you know that you are a gift and a treasure and you need to be heard. And I really encourage you, if this has spoken to you at all, please rise up and don't stay in silence. Thank you so much.
That's super powerful. And you kind of, I have these 3 questions I was going to ask you to wrap things up. You've kind of included most of them. So in just 1-2 sentence, I want you to give us 3 answers. One is, you today, as you are, what would you tell that 5, 13, 17-year-old? The second question is, what would you 50 years from now, that future you, what is she telling you this very moment? And the third one will be, what is your 1-sentence message to everybody on this call? So first, you to your past self, and then your future self to you.
Beautiful questions. First and foremost, I've been doing this exercise for a little bit now, and I keep even saying it every day, that you are more powerful than you've ever given yourself credit for, and playing small doesn't serve you anymore. Rising up and speaking your truth, like Marianne Williamson speaks of, that's the quote that I embody now. And my future self just continually wants to embrace that light and be that shining light of a lighthouse, as I like to call it, for others, to say to my future self that, hey, we've done it. We've overcome, and we are a survivor, and we are thriving as this survivor, and we're helping millions of people. My mission is to help 1 billion lives rise up. And, I'm not going to stop at just 1 person a day. I'd like to help at least 5, if not more. And I just, really want to invoke in others that you are never alone, but truly know that you are the gift to the world, and the world needs you. And that's what's given me the force to reckon with, to keep me here, because I realized that even though my family was taken from me, my life was still important, even after a tree falling on my head, to realize that I am a strong human being, courageous and victorious, and I want others to emanate that and be that legacy that I want to leave in the world for my children, but also leave the imprint that I was capable of doing and becoming and am right now, because the I am strong, I am courageous, and I am victorious is what I speak of every single day.
Beautiful. And you are all of those things. We're so blessed to have you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Passionate about bringing awareness to mental health and giving voice to those who suffer in silence, Kate has shared some powerful tips with us of alignment with our inner light through writing an inner child healing letter of forgiveness. To know more, please connect with Kate via sacredrootscoaching.com. This is All About the Voice podcast, and I want to hear your voice. What has been of the greatest value to you today? Share your insight and share this episode with others. All links are in the description. I also want to invite the Voice of Happiness into your life via our iHappy Daily and iHappy Me apps, our daily energy boosters. You can download these apps, including a free version of iHappy Me from the Apple App Store or the Google Play App Store. For the voice of daily encouragement, grow with us with our free My Tree of Life Facebook group. If you want to join us in exploring how you can live your life with more freedom, head over to you2shine.com. That is YU2SHINE.com. I can't wait to get to know you and be a part of your journey of endless possibilities. Thank you again for listening to All About the Voice. I'm Victoria Rader, and I'll see you on the next episode.